pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Present.
Here.
Clark. Here. Thier.
Here.
Lela.
Here. And accept the motion to approve the agenda of July 10th, 2014 as presented.
Make a amendment to that first, amend that to include an old business, a water main project.
Any other amendments? And I would accept a motion to approve the agenda of July 10th, 2014 as amended.
I'll make that motion. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. I would accept the motion to approve the minutes of the June 10th, 2014 regular board meeting.
I'll read that motion. Second.
Motion by Clark, second by Batterbee, all in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Thank you. Public comment. Joe.
Everybody else, my way. Now, I'm going to provide a little context to my question or my comment, but I might be, I just got some new information, so it might be totally moot, but let me do it anyway. There's a foreclosure that's been in process for about 2.5 years next to my house, and it's finally over with, and the people are moving out this weekend. And the grass is like 2 to 4 feet high, you know what I'm talking about, and then junk in the yard. So, I'm just wondering, do we have and I don't know if one of your council members want to address this or not, but, who gave me the information, but is there, about this property, is there a written procedure or ordinance that covers what the village can do and when they can do it if that house is foreclosed and abandoned?
I looked at that. I'll answer one at a time.
Okay, go ahead.
Earlier, we talked about, I don't know anything we can do unless it becomes a dangerous structure, or like the nuisance, the grass, we can go after for that at that point, but other than that, no, I can't think of
Right.
anything that comes to
I
my
didn't
mind.
think there was, but I
Unless it
wasn't
becomes
sure.
unsafe or blighted or noxious weeds, or, you know, those ordinances we have on the books already.
Yeah, and if you cut the grass, who would you charge for that?
That's been a discussion for, because the way that, and we're gonna talk about that a little later,
Oh, okay.
but who ends up paying and how we get paid is always
Yeah.
a concern, so it doesn't just become an expense.
Oh, yeah, I can understand that. So it could sit idle for up to 3 years until tax lien takes place, and then it's offered to village or government units.
If it goes to, if they foreclose on it for tax purposes.
If the county does or something?
If the
because of
state,
taxes.
if the state gets it on a tax foreclosure, I understand it, we then get first rate refusal to purchase it.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's what will happen, 'cause I think the company's probably just gonna write it off, because it's not worth a whole lot of money, they're just not gonna do anything with it, I don't think. Let's see.
You'd be surprised what properties are actually go for. The one behind me that used to be an old holiday home, pretty run down there.
Oh, I know
It's an
exactly.
old house, went for 19,000 a week ago.
Yeah, really. Well, I hope it sells and somebody takes care of it, of course.
We all do.
You know, that would be very nice. All right, well, I just heard, in another property, I guess the water wasn't shut off over the winter and the pipes burst and big mess around there now in the house. So if this is, if it's still abandoned or not sold for any reason, say December, will the village shut the water off at that point?
I'm understanding we don't unless the property owner requests it, correct? Because it's.
Yeah, I wouldn't know if somebody moved out or not unless they called and requested it to be turned off.
And then we're going, at that point, we're going on private property.
But I guess if I,
If you see
now
water
that I,
going out
now
the
that I
doors-
know that, now that's a different subject. I may sneak in and shut the water off.
The mortgage holder would have to, or not the mortgage holder, the property owner, which would be the Wells Fargo company.
That would be a good question for me to ask Brian Grant. If we know it's abandoned, do we have the right to go shut it off?
But I said, all this may be moved, because I understand there's something happening to the house anyway, so I just wanted to kind of get that straight.
I hope that helps. That's the best of my.
Well, I think there's a lot you can do, I know, but, yeah, whatever, yeah.
All right, thank you, Joe. Any other further public comment? We'll close public comment and move on. Reports. Scott is busy. He said he may be late, and he may not be here at all, so he did just call, so we have, his police report is in front of you, so if there's any questions, I could directed to Scott, if anybody has any.
No,
He's always very thorough.
pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll move on to Sam, DPW.
Everybody has that report, pretty typical month, nothing out of the ordinary. The only thing that it was different was the half-ton pickup, the 2014 Ford that we bought. Believe it or not, come out of the factory with a bad air compressor for the air conditioner on it, been repaired. Any questions?
Doesn't come to mind,
I see, I do, there was one here, repaired the water leak at the day park, Sam. Where was that one at?
That was in the kitchen. We had a line blow apart in the kitchen.
I was down there the other day and I noticed the men's bathroom faucet is always running.
I don't know anything about that, no charge.
Thank you, Sam. Lyle, campground?
Well, actually, everything is pretty status quo, gas cutting, getting fire trucks and so forth. Fourth of July week was full, and, this week, according to the computer, I've only got 1 or 2 sites empty right now. I think, one thing we ought to do is take and rethink our thinking on the porta potties for the Antrim Fest. I don't think that those bathrooms we got down there will be able to handle the crowd. We looked at the grid today, and that last week in July is gonna be pretty close to full right now. And, we have probably average 4 to 5 people per site. So if it's full, it could be as many as 200 people in there, campers and kids and so forth. We might not be able to handle things.
Okay.
So,
Other than that, about that.
other than that, that's about where we stand. We did replace the deck on the lawnmower this last week. The idler pulley on there, we couldn't keep the belt on, kept breaking belts and so forth.
Okay. Any questions for Lyle? Thank you, Lyle. Correspondence, give me a minute here, I believe I had a couple. First one is from the State of Michigan Public Service Commission. Notice of a hearing for electric and natural gas customers, consumers energy. For approval to reconcile the 2013 energy optimization plan cost and surcharges. That hearing is July 15th, 2014, 9 AM in Lansing. So anybody interested? I'll pass the information on. Second one is MML, the workman comp. It says, enclosed is your ballot for this year's Board of Trustees election. 3 incumbent trustees have agreed to seek re-election. You may also write in 1 or more candidates if you wish. So I mean, I could go through the rest, but basically, if we want to fill out the ballot, vote for the 3 incumbent trustees who are the only ones running, I will send it back. You know, I can pass it around, but we're all, none of us know any of them anyway. I mean, if anybody wants to see it, let me know, I'll show it to you, you know, they've been there a long time. One is the village manager, Spring Lake, 21 years experience in municipal official. The mayor of Hastings, 35 years experience in municipal official. Village president Lexington, 20 years experience as a municipal official. So if we're all in agreement to cast a vote for those 3, let's do that. Third one, and it's a surprise, I don't even think I showed you this one yet, Sam, because I just got it. It's from the State of Michigan. Transportation budget includes additional one-time funding for local roads. Although the legislature was unable to come up with a comprehensive solution to fix Michigan's transportation system, next year's transportation budget includes an additional $144.5 million in one-time funding for roads. As a result, cities and villages across this state will receive $31.5 million. Based on the boilerplate language in the bill, the money will be spread out over equal payments throughout the year and not come as a lump sum payment at the beginning of the fiscal year. An estimated breakdown of what each community will receive can be found below, and the village of Central Lake will receive an additional $7,157.30. So that should help a little bit in our street
Just
fund.
major street fund, right?
I believe it'll probably come into the
Yeah, being state.
Yep. So that was good news.
Did you write that down, Rob?
I'll get you a copy, just received that, so. Other than that, I have no further correspondence. So we move on to committee reports. Rob, streets?
Let's see, on June 25th, I went over to the Cowan's residence on Old State Road to check on her sidewalk that Sam had pulled up earlier. She wasn't happy that we had to pull it up, but again, I had to reiterate the fact that anything with a 2-inch crack in it or higher is a liability. Sam had to go back, put a little bit more topsoil down. And in the future, she'd like us to consider that property, or the south side of Old State Road, start putting sidewalk back in there if the funding ever becomes available. So that way it's contiguous all the way from the village limit all the way to the school. And it's a good idea. And then the next thing, the cost of a sidewalk. 100 feet of sidewalk cost $1,421.50. And that sidewalk's 5 feet wide. What I'm gonna do is print up a whole thing here. Sam and I broke it all down, all the way from the cost of cement, all the way to labor, showing the exact breakdown to the penny. So any homeowner that wishes to keep their sidewalk, we can hand them a photocopied piece of paper and saying, this is what it's gonna cost you. This is how the cost is broken down. So that way there's no gray areas and this and that. Because there seems to be some confusion as to the cost of a sidewalk, and I'm gonna put it all out there on paper, so that way, when we start a project, I can just hand them the sheet of paper, or Scott can hand them the paper, so that way there's, again, miscommunication, so. Streets, again, that's under old business with sewers. We can't really, the paving projects we have on deck or looking into coincide with the sewer project. And the sewer project's under old business, so I'm not gonna discuss that, because we're gonna get into it here in a minute. And nothing on lights.
Any questions for Rob? Thank you, Rob. Denise, you in order?
I met with Sam on Monday, to go over the water rate study. He went over the report with me and explained things. You should all have a copy of it. And, any questions you have on it, I will defer to Sam, because he has a better understanding of it than I do. So, that's it.
Any questions? Thank you, Denise. Rob, communication?
Not a lot. The one project we're working on is still on hold indefinitely. And as far as like the boat parade, it was successful for what short notice we put out there, but other than that, if we can proceed with the other project later, we will. Other than right now.
Thanks for dealing with both parties.
Yeah, it went real good.
Joe, finance?
Nothing too big. We had a small issue with the tax reporting. Everybody heard there was just a small mistake in the numbers there. That was corrected, new bills went out. We had a small issue with assist, not updating for us correctly. Rachel got with them, we got that fixed. Other than that, everything's status quo.
Thank you. Judy, Bart?
I think things are going much smoother right now at the moment. I hope we anticipate a good, productive year. It's looking pretty good right now.
Not bad.
You know, we got Lyle to thank for that, because he's doing a wonderful job down there. That's it.
I did poll with Rachel here before the meeting, real quickly, just rough estimate of revenues there, and we're roughly about 40,000 so far this year, give or take a little. We've got some that is still wrapped into last year, people who made reservations before the new budget, so that got wrapped into last year's stuff that's got to be carried over. But we've also got some who've made reservations for next year already this year, and then revenues are also in here. So by the time you work them all out, roughly we're about $40,000 right now, revenue in that. We estimated 45,000 revenue into that.
6 more weeks till.
So I think we're looking pretty good and on track for that right at the moment.
And I believe I'm right, our accounts are gonna show us set up funds for this money that truly happens when you're chosen that much, right? They're addressing that issue, they know it's
Right, the auditors are.
tracking, so they're gonna show us how they want us to do it. Yeah, so that should be correct. Any questions for Joe?
I have a question, not for Joe, but we were not aware that there's no phone down there, so when I get calls from the chamber to get to Central Lake, Thurston Park for camping, who do they notify?
Good question. There's supposed to be a phone down there. We always had a phone before. I don't know why we don't have one down there now.
Okay.
Can you answer that, Kim?
Yeah, can somebody answer that? Because we've received complaints, they'll call on the weekend and say, we need to get a hold
Whose
of.
numbers listed on the? Both the numbers are listed, there's two
Yeah.
numbers listed.
That phone was taken off last year because you guys wanted to save money.
Yep.
And we do not have a listed phone for Thurston Park. And that's one complaint that I've gotten continuously down there. We cannot take and get a hold of Thurston.
I believe if I Google Thurston Park, I'll come up with two phone numbers.
Well,
It's on
But-
the website and on
but-
Facebook.
Again,
not on the
again,
webpage.
let's back up a little bit. Not everybody has computers. There is not a listed phone number. And the thing is, you don't take and run a business with a phone, without a phone.
Well, actually, I'm not gonna argue about it, but most businesses I know do not have landlines. So, yes.
I guess that answers my question.
No, I mean, the
I don't
decision
know, who
was
do they
made
call?
a year ago to remove the phone from the park because we had the office number listed, which has a landline. If it goes to Rachel's cell phone, when she's not in the office, and Lyle has a cell phone.
So it's a matter of putting the correct phone numbers on the website?
They're on the
or-
They are.
No,
For-
people don't, they
for
don't have
years-
the website.
For years, I talked with Lyle a little bit about this, and for years, you open up a phone book and you look at Thurston Park and it has
Yes.
number 2206 or something.
Yeah,
And I understand that it was a slight oversight by pulling that number wasn't available to us anymore. But the redundancy of two different phones down there really didn't make a lot of sense when Lyle has a cell phone on him at all times. It was an oversight that we would lose that part of the communication to people in the community. I've worked with Rachel a little bit, she's been making phone calls, getting a hold of Charter and the different companies to actually assign Thurston Park a number again, which will ring to our office. We're working on it, but until new printings go out in phone books, it can't happen.
okay, and what about the weekend? I get the calls a lot on the weekend,
If you
Joe.
call this office,
It'll go to
they
her,
still
okay.
go to her, yes.
Because the problem with a landline in the park is who's gonna answer it? I mean, to be realistic, who's gonna be there to answer that phone? So I think what Joe's saying, it works better. I agree, if you look up Thurston Park, there should be a phone number listed. Does it need to be a phone number to a landline in the park? I would say no, because I don't know who's gonna answer that phone.
They're just calling the old park.
I-
Correct, and that was an oversight, I wish we
Yes.
would have noticed that from the get-go, but we're trying to fix
Yeah,
it.
so
It
whether
has
it's
been
a
addressed.
cell line or call, I understand your question, and we should have it. When you look up Thurston Park, there should be a phone number.
In the last 4 years, or the last 3 years, I've answered that phone and every phone message I got on there. I returned the phone calls if I had a number to go on there. So there was somebody to take and answer the phone.
I just think with new technology, we have better ways to
Well,
deal with it.
I'm not saying you're not right there. What I'm saying is, like Joe just said, there is not a phone number listed for Thurston Park. And that's important, whether we have my
I think
phone number.
Just for
or
sake
the
of
office
moving on a
number,
little bit,
whatever.
we are addressing it and we're gonna do our best to fix that. For now, if you get these questions, refer them to the office, or Lyle's cell phone that he has, them numbers are listed on our website and our Facebook, and the thurstonpark.com.
So I'll just tell them to look in your Facebook
Yes, they're
page.
they're out there, they're on Facebook.
I guess there's no listing in the phone.
There's just not one in the phone book, correct?
See, that's it, like, I don't use the internet, I don't use the computer.
And, yeah, it was an oversight.
A lot of people.
We're working on it.
I think you should.
We're working on it.
Okay. Any other questions for Joe? We will move on. President's report. I saw Scott here, he's up again.
He's on the phone again, yeah.
Okay, the first thing I want, and but if we agree, we will start this next month. I brought it up once before, and it kind of slipped through the cracks, but it comes from the advice of many people. That as we make motions, the person making the motion should write it down. And then when it comes time to pass the motion, if it's been changed or whatever, you read that motion, and we pass it. It's a paper copy, it's a good copy, it's great, so it solves confusion later. You know, it's right there, that was the motion. So if everybody agrees, I'd like to start that next month. When you make a motion, you just simply take the 30 seconds, 45 it takes to put it in writing.
I'm good with that.
If it becomes too cumbersome, I'll say I was wrong, but I think it might solve a lot of confusion down the line.
Now you're talking about the person who's making the
I
motion?
didn't, this one makes something, physically write it down. And then they know, I mean, then you know that's exactly what you
Yes.
said, and that's exactly what we passed, and I think it's good advice I've gotten from
We're
a
on
lot
the
of
same
people.
page, basically, clipboard,
Right.
the sheet on it. You're
Okay.
okay with this motion right now?
So we will do that.
Okay, nice. Accounting.
Second item was just some things from the DDA meeting last night, open space downtown, which when we refer to open space, we're talking about the lot between Mission Computers and Hatton Barber Shop, which is owned by Michelle Fox. Michelle has
Between the insurance place.
patent insurance, correct. She has agreed to lease that at a very, very reasonable price to the DDA to use as an open space downtown. Very shortly, if I'm wrong, somebody correct me, that lot will be cleaned up. The fence will be moved back, the new fence back there painted at the back end of the lot cleaned up, sod put down, so we'll have a nice open space to start working with. So that should happen hopefully within the next week or so. That's the impression I got.
After Michelle's
It's
leases,
gonna move along fast.
Michelle, did you leave any room for negotiations in the lease price?
I'm firm.
Yeah, she held her ground.
Oh,
A dollar's a dollar.
I,
No, so Michelle, we should all thank Michelle for honesty.
Thank you so much
Did
for
that
that,
to
that's.
the downtown, so.
But I wanna be sure that we've got the lease in place.
We will, yeah, I talked to Brian again today, so all that will be absolutely done before we. Yep. At the same DDA meeting, there was a discussion back and forth for many months on the development plan or the TIP plan. It was finally decided by the DDA that they will write their own development plan and TIP plan with the help of Northern Links and some other people, so I applaud them for that.
today Jan sent me a pretty much template where all we gotta do is fill in the blanks. It's
Great.
current,
And I have-
different than what we looked at last night, but
Okay.
good.
And I have our TIP numbers from Jim Keller, who took care of that today.
Oh,
So we're moving along real good, and I think it's great. It's a big savings to the DDA, which is the village, which is your tax dollars. So I think it was a great plan. Michelle put a lot of work into it, and it all worked out. So I appreciate all that. There was some confusion, and I'll admit, that even in my mind, as to the flower pots that were downtown and why they weren't planted. To tell you the truth, I drive by them every day and not even notice them. When somebody brought it up, we thought, oh my gosh, we have to take care of it. It did get taken care of, they are planted, so I apologize, I'd say it was an oversight on absolutely everybody's part, and everybody said the same thing, it wasn't intentional. Crazy oversight, but it's done, they're planted, I think the flower areas look great, so the DDA is handling that and very well. Joe mentioned the tax bills earlier, I'll take the blame for that. I communicated wrong with Jim Keller, and the water mills were now, there's 2 mills instead of 1.0648. So, that's my fault. So they all got corrected, and Rachel very graciously sent out all the tax bills again the other day. So, that's been some confusion to people, but
has there been some kind of notice so folks aren't thinking they're gonna pay 2 bills or which first
there's a
one,
notice in their
second
new
one?
bill, it's a different color, there's a notice in them explaining it to them. We were gonna put it in paper, but it was too late, the bills were already out by then, it happened that quick. So we had to put something on the Facebook page, so the second bill comes in a completely different color to get their attention, and then Rachel typed up a notice and put it in there explaining why they're getting the second bill.
And
Which
is
which
there
a
something on the
completely corrected bill.
website or on
It's
the
not
Facebook
a
page?
refund, it's a brand new tax bill, so they pay the second one.
there is also some on our Facebook.
Yeah, there's something on the Facebook page.
So people aren't gonna know about it until they get the second envelope, unless they watch the video or we tell them?
Right, and they're gonna get the bill before we could've got it in the paper.
I got mine.
But I mean, is it on the website or on
Yes,
Facebook?
it's on the website and
Okay.
on the Facebook page. That went on the day we found out. Just on the Facebook, I'm sorry, it's not on the website, it's on the Facebook page.
I actually spoke to somebody today who was very happy because the bill was lower.
it is lower, so we
Right.
lower tax bills because first we increased them.
Say,
Okay, me, so that explains what happened there. To the village guys, Sam, Scott, let your guys know, if they don't talk to Rachel tomorrow about that vision plan, it's canceled.
I didn't know anything about it.
We talked about it for 2-3 months.
Nobody said a word to me. Not one word has been said to me about
That's
this.
the first day we talked about health insurance, we said you guys need to talk to Rachel to determine if you need the vision plan and which one you want. I could go back and watch the videos, I mean, I'm just saying, let's get it done, because it's coming new.
I'll talk to her.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, so just let's get that done. Scott, do you wanna talk about your part-time guys and our blight enforcement, or do you want me to?
Did I miss my spot already?
You missed your, so have your spot.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Thank you, I apologize, I got called out by something else, so. Quickly, I'll go over the report, and then Ken and I had talked about, obviously, that issue there, but, before you is the report for June, pretty typical month. There's some things on there, just some training, wrapped up the school part, the car show went really well, actually very well. I think things are progressing, it seems to get easier the longer we do this, so, I'm happy with that. What else were there? Oh, the bottom thing I put down there, it says ordinance issues being looked at. We've been talking about ordinances and issues and stuff like that. One day last month or a couple weeks ago, I went around and just what I could see around the village, I found about 45 houses that were probably in violation of some type of ordinance or some type of either tall grass, junk vehicles, whatever. I just kind of made a handwritten list, came back, typed it up on a computer. So I've got a kind of a starting platform. Ken and I had talked about, and I had a chance to talk with Bill Chapman too, about kind of an idea that I have is, and it kind of goes on to one of the other things I didn't put on here, but Libby, our part-time officer, she resigned. She took a better job with more hours and stuff like that, so she was a little tearful about leaving, but it's kind of a good thing for her. So we're down one part-time person. So my thought was that, as we're looking more serious at the ordinances and enforcing them, we're probably I'm going to take my part-time help that you've already allotted me to have, and I'm just going to redirect it instead of actually going out and enforcing, speeding and stuff like that. I'm going to basically take this officer and focus them on just nothing but ordinances. It'll do kind of one of two things. It'll relieve a lot of things that I have to do, because it seems like, and I don't think, and I'm not saying that ordinances are not important, they are important, but unfortunately they become a back burner thing when there's other things going on. So if we had one person just concentrating on the ordinances that need to be taken care of on a regular basis, and it could be something as simple as 4 hours a week, 8 hours a week, and something throughout the whole year, so we're keeping more consistent on it. Because if not, honestly, the only time I can work on enforcement of ordinances is when I have free time, and it just seems like I have less and less free time just because more things take priority because of that. So that's we had talked about that, and Ken seemed to think that was a good idea. Bill thought it was kind of a good idea. So we're just kind of in the introductory phase. How would it work? And there's been some thought. I've talked to a couple other chiefs around here. Does it have to be a certified police officer? Can it be just a regular citizen? And I'm getting yes on both ends of it. So maybe something that we can hire a part-time person, a retired person or something like that, or somebody that just needs some hours, every so often, to where they can just simply focus on that. I think we'd be able to retain somebody for a longer period of time. Somebody's not just doing a job for 6 months and then we lose them, trying to find a new person, stuff like that. So that's kind of what we're still working on, and I think Ken and I had talked about, because of the ordinance issues that we've been talking about the last couple of months have to be tuned up and cleaned up and stuff like that. I think once we get everything good to go, then we'll kind of hit that full force. So I may come back with some type of idea to you as far as maybe picking up another person, or I threw it by my 2 part-time people, and I'm not sure if that's what they really want to do, so it might be something that we just go to look out for somebody else. So it might be posting a position, it might be looking for another individual around here that we could do. So, but I'll keep you guys up to speed. It's nothing we have to do today, and I want to make sure that we're doing it the right way and something that was going to be beneficial for all of us. So that's kind of where we're at with that part of it. So, any questions? No.
I think it's a great idea.
I do too. I talked about it also that I'd like to actually see a law enforcement officer doing it because they're multi-capable. They can still write a ticket. They can
Sure,
still-
but the
The
problem,
average person, myself, whatever, to go out and do it, all I can do is give somebody a ticket or a warning that says, clean
Well,
up. So,
but there's, the argument behind that is, where am I gonna find a certified police officer to do that? Because it doesn't pay that well. We don't pay,
Right.
and I'm not saying this to be mean, but we don't pay a lot of money for people. That's why they always come and they always go. The other part about it is, even if we had a person that was a civilian doing that, if it ever came down to the enforcement part, I jump in and that's when I write the citation. So we're not losing that aspect of it, so. But it's kind of hard, you gotta kind of look at the big picture as far as who can you find to fill that position, who would want to do it, who would actually stay to where we're
you've been in the village, how long you been with us, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years?
6.
6 years, okay. Long enough, seems like a long time.
A little over 6.
In your 6 years, how often, if you were to put an hourly or a weekly time frame that you could deal with the blight, what would you figure that to be?
Well, and I don't know, because it varies based on what time I do have available.
Obviously,
Right now,
you're not
if I took
dealing
that
with
list that I have of 45 houses or residents, and that's just a quick glimpse, and it's not all of them either. You know, what would it take to clean up all those 45, I think? Well, you gotta start by pulling a complaint on each one of them, you have to enter everything in the computer. You have to be able to send them out 10-day notices, you have to be able to follow up on it. According to Brian Graham, you have to go down to register of deeds and actually figure out who physically owns each one of those pieces of property. So we're talking a lot of time just to get the ball started.
I guess where I'm going with that is, it comes to the point that and this is just my opinion, that if our part-time police officers don't wanna do that job, if that's a job we have available, do we start looking at not having part-time police officers and hiring, is that what we're
That's
talking?
what he's
Oh,
saying.
okay.
That's exactly what I'm
And
saying.
that part-time police officer money is gonna be used.
Sure.
For enforcement. They wanna do it fine.
And at this point, I'm not coming to you and
Somebody else
saying, hire me a new person to do this. I'm just
Okay.
saying, with what you've already given me
Yeah.
for a yearly
Okay.
budget for part-time officers, maybe we're just looking at doing it in a different aspect, so.
How does Torch Lake do it? They have a
They
part-time.
hire, actually, the Torch Lake hires a blight enforcement officer.
They had one and he didn't work out,
Right.
and they hired somebody else. How's that working out for them?
I would assume well, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never even.
And I don't know, I mean, the nice part about how we do it, or we could do it, is that, you know, we do everything through our computer system, and it's kind of, you know, either it's a police officer or not, you know, and I can oversee it and keep track of it and stuff like that. It'd be a whole lot simpler, because, you know, it's just like I said, it's one of those things that it's hard to dedicate a lot of time on it when there's, you know, if somebody's house is getting broken into, do I tell them, sorry, I'll be there in 4 days when I'm done handling ordinance complaints? I mean, you can't do that, so, but, you know, there's only so much time available, so. But, I don't know, I think it'd be very helpful, and I think it would be something better than we have currently, so.
It's been one recurring theme we hear. I've heard a lot. Let's work on our,
You know,
what it is we have. Let's.
and in the past, we've tried some other routes. I mean, Larry Eckert was sitting up here at one point and sent a nice letter to people saying, hey, you know, police yourselves and take care of things, you know, and it doesn't really work. I think you need more people to specifically go around and say, this is what we're looking for, so.
Would that, just as a question, would the part-time officer, just to give some thought to this part-time person, would it just be complaint driven? Or would it be, they would go around, drive around, look around, certain sections of the village and, you know, address the issue with the person informally?
It's always been my thought, it shouldn't be complaint driven. We don't want to pit neighbor against. Like I said, Scott's already been through town. Scott compiled a list on his own. Like I said, obvious stuff, and we've talked about it a lot. We're just trying to find a way to do it affordably, effectively.
Sure.
But if anybody disagrees, I just don't think it should be complaint driven.
Probably
If we have a complaint, yes, but
I
as a
agree.
village,
Yeah.
we can keep our village
Right.
up to the standards people want.
Yeah.
Should be violation driven.
Yes.
If you've got language, yes, and Scott's done, I like that, he can, so just so we know about what we're looking at, so it's been discussed.
And it could be something that 6 months down the road, a year from now, we could look at it and say, oh, you know, are we dedicating it, you know, at this point, are we still dedicating enough time towards it, or do we need to put more time towards it, or less time, or, you know, if you go through that list and took care of all those issues, in 6 months, would you have another 45? Probably not. You probably have 10 or so. I mean, you're gonna have the same people that are gonna have to be reminded on a regular basis.
Do you send warnings out, with like list?
You can, and for the most part, we've been able to just handle complaint driven, because it's just, that's all we have the time to do. And for the most part, I would say, and I don't have the statistics behind this, but, you know, 95% of the time, you can get people to comply and to do what needs to be done, so. But it takes a lot of time. It takes reminding them, and doing the paperwork and the 10-day notice and coming back in 10 days and reminding them again, and, you know, and every time you have contact with this person, it has to be documented in the report, it just seems to be, you know, you'd think simply, you know, telling somebody just to mow the grass would be real simple to do, but it's not.
Kathy tried to make the report at home.
It should be simple, but it's not.
So that's kind of what we're gonna be working on, and I'll keep Kevin posted, and I'll keep, Bill posted, and we'll kind of, hopefully maybe even by next board meeting, we'll come up with kind of a tentative plan on what we think we can do, so.
Any other questions? Thank you, Scott.
Great, thank you.
One more thing in my president's report before I move this, I'm surprised you missing too because I just got it. Nate Summers has resigned from the planning commission. So we are, as of now, looking for another planning commission member. Just found out. Any questions for me? Thank you. I'd accept a motion to approve the payment of bills prepaid in the amount of $9,551.85. Payroll in the amount of $6,039.07. Payable in the amount of $9,349.94. For total approved bills of $24,940.86.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Bodley. Second. Batterbee. Roll call.
yes.
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 Yep.
Yes. Pat, thank you. New business, I'd actually, if the council would like to add one thing to new business and we can discuss rather quickly, it's concerning park benches. I have your permission?
Yep.
Okay. The DDA has been wanting some benches downtown. They looked at purchasing their own benches, the price of that was, they were very nice benches. The price a lot of people thought was high for the DDA budget at this time. The village has some nice aluminum benches. We had one in the barn, which Sam has already put downtown in front of Mission Computers. There's two more in the park. My thought is, we buy new ones for the park that match our park equipment. The coated ones, the same colors. Put those there, bring those two benches uptown. There's seating right around the open space area. The DDA decided they'd like some benches, so it's a benefit to us to buy some new benches, not that we have to, but it also gets some more seating uptown at the most cost-effective way I can think, so. Sam priced some benches. I called that guy today, Sam, and never heard back on 100% sure price and shipping and colors, and he never got back. But the price Sam has, I'll pass this up and out to people, it was the Playworld system. Here's a bigger picture of it. That will come, he believes, that was the other thing Sam would have a chance to tell you. Some benches only come in certain options. He believes that one will be able to come in orange and blue, the same colors, it's the same company. That bench is $500 plus whatever shipping would be.
I thought it was $75 each bench,
That's, okay.
so $150 on two benches.
Benches. So we're $1,100, whatever. And we make it a better price if it was a Holland company, is that right, where the local rep was?
I don't remember, yeah.
No. And I'm sure I didn't even ask him this, but the money probably is within the budget, so we're not asking for additional money. It would be,
We'll figure out a way to pay for it.
you're right. So
Within a
if
couple
we
of
want to do
out
it,
of the park.
we'll proceed with it. So
Are the benches that these would be replacing, they're not bad now, we would just be replacing them to,
They're identical to the ones we already have uptown right now.
and they're
And
not bad.
they're in the same condition.
Okay, so we would be replacing these to match our playground equipment and stuff, and helping the DDA.
Yes.
Now, knowing the DDA budget, they budgeted $11,500 for capital improvements in there. Would it be out of line to ask them to pay for half?
No, the DDA did not.
Well, they-
The DDA asked for $4,000 for the open space. They took the benches out of the DDA budget,
Okay,
because they were very nice, wrought iron, black, beautiful benches. I believe the cost was about $1,200 a bench. So.
I think it's a great idea, but I think if we're replacing benches that aren't bad, just to color and help the DDA just should pay half of it.
Then they're gonna come and ask you for more of your village money. I mean, it's.
Because it's up in the village, too.
And it is, I see what you're saying.
I think that DDA does benefits us as a village, You know, I thought it was a way we can all
Yeah.
work together for the most reasonable cost, we can get more seating downtown, which I do believe is an issue, we should have more seating downtown.
Can I get that paper from, if we opt to do it?
As
Because
long
I'll
as
order
they're
it tonight.
Oh.
If you guys give me the approval, I'll order it.
And I'll wait and see if I can email back, and I'll talk to you about that in the meeting, okay?
Yeah.
So, I would say yes, that's my personal opinion. I think it's a benefit to the downtown, proceeding to the businesses, our park looks nicer, everything matches. I know we're not doing it out of necessity. But is it an improvement for all the people in the village, in the downtown area? I say yes.
You need a motion on that.
I'll make a motion that we purchase 2 new benches at a price not to exceed $1,500.
I'll support that.
Motion by Bob, second by Clark, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
It's gonna be orange and blue. It's gonna match the rest of the playground equipment down there. School colors.
Unless anybody has any new business I'm not aware of, we will move on to action items. We passed these ordinances, and then as we learn as we go with some discussion with Brian Graham, we didn't do it in the proper format. Same end result, but in the simplest terms he could explain it to me that I can explain it to you. You do not amend an ordinance. You pass an ordinance to amend the ordinance, and then you just go and amend the ordinance. But you have to pass an ordinance allowing you to amend the ordinance before you can amend the ordinance. And once you pass the ordinance to amend the ordinance, you just go do it. He had another term for that, but at that point Rachel just goes in and changes the ordinance with a footnote under it, amended per ordinance number. Yeah, and so it was, let's get oversight on my part, the same end result. And so this is what he would like us to do. This is right from Brian Graham. He would like the council to pass a motion to reconsider its prior actions concerning those changes. I will make the motion. If I give a second. Motion by Kruse, second by Bodley. To reconsider the council votes at its June 10th, 2014 regular meeting to approve the dangerous structure ordinance, to approve the nuisance ordinance, and to approve the yard waste ordinance. Motion by Kruse, second by Bodley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Then we will now need a motion to enact ordinance number 2 of 2014, which is the dangerous structure ordinance. Motion by Bodley,
Support.
second by Clark, to enact ordinance number 2, 2014, the dangerous structure ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. The next motion is to enact ordinance number 3 of 2014, an ordinance to amend chapter 8, the nuisance ordinance, in chapter 20, the yard waste of the village code. I would accept that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Clark,
Second.
second by Batterbee. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And just so we understand, I also talked to Brian about posting these in the paper. They can either be posted by synopsis or posted in their entirety. Posted by synopsis is not just as simple as something we write up. There certainly has to be written to do at certain points addressed. So his advice to me was, find the cost of him doing it compared to the cost, and then put a synopsis in the paper compared to the cost of just put the ordinance in the paper. Rachel called that day, it's cheaper just to put the ordinance in the paper. So the ordinances will be published in their entirety in the paper. Become effective.
Ken?
So are you making a motion to pay for that, or is that included in what you've just done? To pay for the advertising?
That's within the budget, yeah, to publish, and once you pay, the ordinances have to be published. I believe we did that.
Are you amending the dangerous structure ordinance?
It's a new date.
That's a brand new ordinance.
Yeah, he wrote a whole new one. Paul said he wanted to bring it up.
I thought we had.
Quick question, which paper are you using for publication?
Enter review, enter review. we need to, if you'll let me, we need to add an action item. Oh, I missed that, Rachel, I'm sorry. It's the open burning ordinance that we changed last month and agreed to bring back. So I'd like to add ordinance number 4, open burning ordinance. I believe you all have that in front of you too. The changes that were made, were what, 7.3B? Burn barrels are allowed within the village of Central Lake so long as it is in compliance with the Department of Environmental Quality. And 7.4A, setback was changed to 10 feet. I think those are the two items we wanted to change.
The setback was for 2010.
Yep. And the burn barrels, we decided to allow burn barrels. for limited use. So if there's no questions, I would accept a motion to pass ordinance number 4.
I'll make that motion as presented.
Second.
Motion by Bodley, second by Batterbee, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you. Which if nobody else has anything, leads us into old business, which is the water main project. Sam, you want to kind of explain that? I mean, we talked about it before, but maybe we could all,
Well,
do a refresher.
you all have what happened was, the village applied for a grant, of course, for the park. And at that point, we thought we may go through with that yet this fall. So if we have the construction equipment down in there, we thought about replacing the water main so that we didn't have 2 years where we brought it in spring and spring the next year have the park all torn out. And at this point, I come to you guys and ask you for a request for a new water main to be put in 2 spots to eliminate an old 2-inch water line that services 13 homes plus all of the camping park. And what happens is the old 2-inch line is broke so many times in the hill at the camping park, and every time it breaks, it costs us $1,500 to get Buckmans to come in with an excavator just to dig the hole, because it's 17 foot deep in the hill. And my backhoe won't dig a big enough hole, because of the dirt spores, I can't get far enough away. So at that point, I've come back to you guys and asked you on some road paving projects that we had scheduled for this year. And it happens to be the roads that we had scheduled for this year were the ones that the old water mains are under. So it kind of worked out kind of perfect to get them all combined together. And what I did is I contacted Mike Ingalls from Michigan Rural Water Association. We have X amount of dollars in our water fund, and what I did is I went back to Mike Ingalls since we did a capital improvements plan in 2011 with our water study originally, the first one we did, and we were on track with that. So I went back to Mike Ingalls and said, hey Mike, should I maybe think about this water project, going through and redo the study and add it to the cost and put it into the new study so my capital improvements plan don't change that we originally set out in 2011. Because, you know, that would have been pulling from that reserve fund that we've been putting money away. So you guys all have a copy of that study, I believe. And it has a new rate, and at that point, if we were to do this water main with that new study rate, nothing has changed within the capital fund plan, the equipment replacement fund, all the way around. So, and Ken's quite familiar with it too. We went over it real good on it. Actually, Ken's probably more adverse on answering your questions than what I was on it. Because we sat down together and went over every question on it, and there were some he answered and some I answered. So,
The old study rate, if I remember correctly, was a 1% increase every year.
yep.
And this one now would be a 2.5%.
2.5. I believe.
I think that would be recommended to happen anyway. That's what they're saying the cost of living is.
Right.
So, I mean, even outside of this project, I think they would recommend a 2.5% cost of living increase compared to the 1%.
Right.
So the service rate would move from 24.48 current to 25.21.
No, I think it would start out at 24.50, wouldn't it?
At 24.
In 2015, it shows it at 25.
But he's showing that as being done now.
Okay.
And we wouldn't implement this till
Okay.
next year,
Okay.
because
I
we're
see
halfway
the-
through our 2014 act, what we implemented.
So we,
as
and
a rate.
that's, okay, so in 2015, the new rate would be 25.21.
So it'd be 24.50 at $1.25 per thousand, is that right?
Right. 75
We would, basically, Joe, the study picked it up from the time we did it, which would be 2014, when we put the numbers into it. And we wouldn't implement the rate until 2015. And the new rate would be, just kind of deduct 1 year.
Recommended bill right now.
Okay, and I'm looking, when we look at the projected year out, 2015, 2.5% increase is a 71-cent increase, 25.21. Same over here, on your usage would go up to $1.24 instead of $1.07, which is 41 cents. So that's what our new rate would be next year, 25.21.
I would, right now.
I'm reading this project.
I wouldn't put a whole emphasis on the exact number, because what's gonna happen is, what we're here tonight to decide is, do we want to increase water rates to pay for this project? This is about what it's gonna cost. If we say yes, Sam will then go out and get absolute bid. That number could change to 2,000, 3,000,
Yes.
whatever. So, I wouldn't wanna sit here and say the rate will be 25.217. Will it be about $25? Yeah. Will it go up to about $1.20 per thousand instead of 75 cents? Yes, but an exact number, this is just to give us a ballpark. I think we're close, Gordy Fraser. I think what you plug in as a number, Sam, about
I
70.
think we plugged in 78, and I think Gordon Fraser plugged out 88.
Gordy Fraser said 80.
With engineering.
So there were some things in there that we thought Gordy Fraser, as we pushed our eyes a little higher. So I'm saying, and we stopped at that point because we realized there was no sense going further with a whole lot of it if we weren't gonna take on raising the water rates to pay for it. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
about where we're at.
Because we have to show what we're spending the taxpayer dollars on. We can't just jack the rates up for any reason we want. You have to show that you need the funding to do it.
And I think we all came up again today with, if it went this, if it was the 50 cents per thousand increase, it's about $18 a year to the average water customer. Average. Some will be more, some will be less, but if you do it as an average across the board, it's $18 a year.
That's pretty doggone cheap for what they get here.
And what I
They're
can
one
tell
of the
you is,
lowest paid.
we're gonna end up doing this project at some point anyway.
Yeah.
That's why
It's a
I
great project.
constantly keep bringing
Yeah.
up to the park, there's one, I don't wanna guess at the number of residents serviced off a 2-inch,
13.
13
plus all of
13
them.
comes off a 2-inch line plus the campground, and that line, I would bet there's a hole in it right now.
We got water.
That's what I'm saying, it's that old.
There's
And
water
this is
sales
constantly
in
breaking.
Greenville.
How much fire suppression does this add for us in?
We have it set up for 2 new hydrants to be set for top of the hill bottoms.
There's 2 hydrants in the camping park.
And we have additional bathhouses.
Yep, and this would look,
With the bathhouse coming in, we want the fire protection down like that for them.
new water down in the park, new water at the top side of the park, which we keep talking about developing some more sites on the top side of the park, so more water capacity is great.
And then gets all these people on a good 6-inch main, good potable water.
So then, if I'm just guessing on the numbers then of what we're being presented, we're gonna go up 2 cents then, what you're saying on the service charge, and 38 cents, or 45 cents on the, 45 cents on the
Just
water.
If we use the number of the sand.
Per thousand.
But you gotta remember, this, I might be so far off on this, that water bid, and like I told Ken, might come back $130,000. Then we can forget about this. This is more informational for you guys right now until we actually get a bid on the cost of the water project.
I'm gonna guess Sam, pretty close, because like I said, Gordy Fraser was 88, and Sam and I, right away, picked a few things we thought we wouldn't need that. So, yeah, they were 88.
And then there's other thoughts on this to be figured into it. If we're gonna redo the water main going down Lake Street, Lake and Brooks, since we have to tear all the blacktop out, do you wanna put the cost of the blacktop into the water study? The reason you're tearing it out is because you gotta replace the water. Or do you wanna charge that back to your local street fund to pay for that road?
Which it's already on the street plan, correct?
You already got it.
Yes,
It's already on the local street.
that paving was already figured in the local streets,
Yes.
but under paving.
Yes.
So now that you're tearing out the water main, should the water pay to put it back.
Not if you're already gonna do it, I
No,
wouldn't think,
you
but
already got
if
it.
it was good road, you would tear it out.
It's not like, like I said, another thing is we're not tearing up a good road, we're tearing up a road we were gonna fix anyway.
Right, the road.
So I wouldn't add it to your water study.
It's just so everybody knows, the reason the road gets tore up is the water main's under the road and the taps are under the road. So there's no way to retap those services without digging up the road.
So we're looking then for a motion for Sam to get an actual cost?
I don't even know if we need a motion, I think we just need a consensus that, and then Sam will bring back a good price next.
Absolutely.
I will
Yeah,
bring
We'll
that.
plug a number into the water study, and we'll, then we can truly make a motion. and decide.
Hopefully I'll have a good price on the cost of the project
Absolutely.
by next meeting.
I just didn't want to wasting the time that everybody borrows something.
Oh, and then knowing that you got into that hill twice in the last couple of years down there where it's leaked and how that's looked, and so that cost will be eliminated.
So we are all in agreement that Sam
Yes.
pursue that project?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Any other business I'm not aware of? And we will open up for public comment one last time. I'll take a minute to apologize to Sam and Scott. I didn't mean to call you out. I was just, my bad way of emphasizing the fact that that's coming up, that policies we have to decide. So I apologize for that. I didn't mean to call anybody out. I'm just saying.
The last thing I remember on that was we talked about maybe adding dental.
It's so confusing to all of us. We talked about health
And I don't think
insurance.
it ever went anywhere.
No, we kicked that can 100 times. I mean, a health insurance, so. But I'm saying Rachel needs to know so we can all take a seat.
I'll talk to you after.
Yeah, let's just get going. Okay. I would accept the motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
No.
Be seconded by everybody. All in favor?
Now you guys speak up.
Good.